Every leader has a vision, but the path to that vision is rarely smooth. Obstacles, setbacks, and failures, they're not detours, they're a part of the journey. Today on Transformation Station, we're talking about leadership, discipline, and what it takes to overcome adversity to achieve what you've been called to build. Come on, let's get started. Welcome back to Transformation Station Leadership Podcast, where leaders grow with clarity, resilience, and purpose. I'm your host, Adrienne Benton, and today's episode is for anyone, for everyone who has ever felt delayed, discouraged, or tested on the road to their goals. You know, leadership is not proven in comfort, it's forged in challenge. Discipline is what keeps vision alive when motivation fades. And our guest, I can't wait for you to meet him. He's going to bring some powerful insights into what it means to persevere through failure, learn through obstacles, and stay committed to what you've envisioned. But before we bring him to the room, I want to again say thank you to you. Let me go ahead and say thank you. Do you want to know why? Here's why. I'm saying thank you because you have allowed us to cross the 4,000 podcasts. Okay, give yourselves a round of applause. You've allowed us to surpass the 4,000 podcast download milestone. I can't thank you enough. And so I want to invite you to do this for me. We're at 4,000. Come on, let's go. This month we can get 5,000, 6,000. We got to keep this going. So what that means is we're in season 3. If you have missed even one episode of season 1 and season 2, I want to invite you to go back, get some of the replays, and then don't keep this goodness to yourself. Come on. It's time for you to share Transformation Station with the other leaders in your network so that we truly can be a global community. And I also want to remind you of one more thing. Listen, you know, we recently had our Lead Her Shift reset that took place in January. Well, guess what? Number 2 is coming. Lead Her Shift Virtual Adjustment. It's coming April 13 to 16. We already have our guest strategist. We're going to have an amazing time. So please share this with all the women in your network because registration opens on March 13th and you don't want to miss this virtual conference. Well, listen, it's time for me to introduce our amazing guest today. I want to introduce you to Jay. Jay is a Marine Corps veteran, serial entrepreneur, inventor, and author. His passion lies in helping others like you and me break free from limitations so that we can embrace our unique journey and create a life of meaning. From the pages of his book to potential speaking engagements and the podcast that he's been able to be a guest on, his goal is simple: to uplift, inspire, and ignite action. Jay, I'm so happy that you're with us here on Transformation Station. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Adrienne. I hope I can reflect as much excitement as you are, and you're really pumped up. So you got me smiling. Thank you.
Listen, we're thrilled that you're here today. Absolutely. And you know, Jay, what stands out to me about your work is the reminder that you continue to give people that setbacks don't cancel vision, that they refine it. And so I'm excited for this powerful encouragement in by way of conversation that we're going to have tonight. So I want to start off with this question, Jay. You know, when you look back on your leadership journey, on your life journey, what role did discipline play in you staying committed to your vision, even when progress was seemingly slow or unclear?
I think discipline is something I just happen to be raised with it as well, and I recognized it early on that you have to be disciplined to make sure you take care of. Well, I was raised on a farm, a working farm. So part of your discipline or responsibility, I think they play hand in hand. Uh, you have to make sure the cattle are fed. You may have to make sure the crops are taken care of. But your discipline is if you've committed to something and doing something, let's say lifting a 30-pound weight 5 times a day, 50 times, that you don't miss it no matter what. Or if you do miss it, you make sure you make it up. But it's that discipline that you do it whether somebody's watching you or knows about it or not. You continue to push forward, and that's what really brings it in. And you mentioned before that discipline is pushed forward, at least for me, by adversity. I think it forms my discipline because the only way to get through adversities is through resilience, and that's built by your discipline and you're continuing to be um, determined to keep pushing.
Absolutely. I have found through the years that discipline played and plays a foundational role in my being able to stay committed to the vision, especially
Right.
when it seems like the progress was slow, like things weren't moving. I wasn't meeting my goal just when I thought I was supposed to have met it. Or sometimes, the journey is unclear. Like you have a goal, but how you literally can get there is unclear. And when we have discipline, I think about when you start off and you say, I want to be able to do 50 push-ups, but right now, all you can do is 5. And that journey of getting to 50, sometimes your muscles are sore. Sometimes, you were able to do 10 this week, and then next week something's not working right, and you can only do 5, and you're feeling discouraged. But if you just keep being consistent, just every day taking a step, just keep doing something, that discipline will play a pivotal role in being able to give direction to the vision. I thought about this when you were talking earlier, and it says discipline sustains commitment beyond emotion. And I think right there, that is a place where sometimes as leaders, as people, we tend to sometimes get, off track when our emotions start to talk to us, right? As
Yes,
opposed
ma'am.
the discipline to talk to us. And it says motivation is often tied to visible results, but discipline is tied to purpose. I don't know. What do you think about that? Discipline is tied to purpose.
No, I believe it is because if your purpose is, if you find, I think that's something you don't realize. For me anyhow, when I was younger, what's my purpose? We go through life a lot. What am I going to do? What am I here for?
Mhm.
Lord, what do you want from me? And you don't find that till you hit a certain point in life. At least for me,
Mhm.
and and if you find it earlier, I think it changes. And I think it changes no matter when you are, because your
Mhm.
purpose has to change. But I believe that to realize your purpose, you have to have the discipline to stay with that or
Yes.
that direction. Or if you don't stay in that direction, you get sidetracked, and now you're not going to hit what you wanted to.
Mhm.
Just like you said with the 50 push-ups, if you don't start, you've got to keep going. You got to keep pushing. So it's the same thing.
Yes, absolutely. So here in Transformation Station, we always give our leaders who are listening and watching an opportunity to pause and reflect. And viewers, listeners, this is a great place for you to pause and reflect. We're talking about vision, we're talking about purpose, we're talking about direction, and we're talking about discipline. Just stop and ask yourself some fruitful questions right now. We like to give leadership principles, and one would be vision requires endurance. Leaders are not defined by how they start, but by what they sustain. So, to every leader that's listening and watching this conversation with Jay, we want to remind you right now, if you're feeling like you just want to quit, don't do it. Don't do it, because that goal, that vision, it requires endurance.
Mhm.
So, Jay, I want to ask you this question. How have failures or setbacks shaped your leadership character? And what lessons did you have to maybe unlearn in order to move forward?
Well, Adrian, I don't know that I've ever had to unlearn anything. I mean,
Mhm,
I maybe redirect a little bit, but not
mhm,
unlearn it, because I've tried to have uh, the vision to have goals to see. How would I say that? Uh, Use my vision to get through the failures or setbacks. I don't think I've had any real failures. I've had setbacks, but
mhm,
I don't think I failed because I don't let myself fail.
mhm,
I try to address it as I'm going along. It's like if you're on a dry road and it's starting to rain, slow down a little bit. Don't maintain your speed.
mhm,
See that, understand that it gets slippery out. It's a different direction you've got to take mentally. Um, but I, I don't know. It's shaped my leadership character though. Is it just keeps me from absolutely wanting to fail. It's kind of like we
mhm,
mentioned before. It's like having been in the Marine Corps, I do not have the
mhm.
word quit or
Yep.
stop in my vocabulary. They don't exist. They're a
Mhm,
four-letter word, but I don't know how to spell them. We
mhm.
don't listen to that. That just doesn't. So that I think that's the best I can
Yeah, no, that's
come
great.
up with
Listen,
that.
I love it because the reality is we're all on a different journey, right? There are leaders who are listening and watching, and some of them are in that same place too, where, they're like, my mindset has always steered me towards not quitting, towards not seeing challenges as a failure or a mistake as a failure or my having to process,
Right,
feel, learn,
right.
and grow as a failure. So no, that's perfect. And for the other side of the house, for those who have had to walk through the journey of failure, for I find that many times that mistakes or failures or occurrences that have not gone the way we would have wanted them to, they help to build humility. They remind us that we are human. And humility, many times, can open the door to learning, open the door to a leader developing empathy for the other people who are on their team and not think that they know everything, right? And then you mentioned something earlier. You talked about resilience, not quitting. And many times, setbacks teach us how to endure without quitting.
Oh
Resilience,
yes.
you listen, you and I, we know that resilience, that bounce back factor, is not built in comfort.
Mm-mm.
You don't
No,
learn
no,
resilience when
no.
everything is working great. No, no. You learn resilience when you actually have to be patient. When you have to, you know what, I'm just not going to quit. I'm just not going to do it. That's where it's forged, right? It's forged in the
I,
recovery. How do I move forward from this? Yes.
But it's something you just said, but I'm not going to quit. And I've been asked that question, like, how did you decide to move ahead? What was it that made you? I don't understand the word quit.
Hmm.
It's just ingrained in me. I have not been. And, for those that are listening, I mean, I've been dead three times. I should have been dead three other times. So
Hmm.
let me take and say, that's given me a humility to understand. My first time I died was 19 years old in the Marine Corps. Second time I died, I was 23 years old. A drunk driver hit me. And
Hmm.
I, I believe that I relied upon the fact that my body could heal once I got out of the comas and all this, and that I could push forward by myself because I have a saying, if it is to be, it is up to me. So between me and the Navy doctors at the time back in the Marine Corps, and then the other doctors later on, and myself, I don't think I looked at the humility, to use that word, that I should have had for what God had provided for me. I thought, this is Jay doing it. I thank you, Lord, for keeping me here. But I didn't, it was when I broke my neck and drowned and was paralyzed from the shoulders down 8 years later. It was after that, it was months later. And then through some of the circumstances I went through there that really encouraged me to understand what potential is, what the growth is, what the mindset is, what the resilience is, what adversities could I overcome. And having already been through so much, I looked back at a lot of that, and although what happened to me in the Marine Corps wasn't the same as breaking your neck, you still had to have a mindset that I can see a vision. I have to have a dream. And a lot of people use the word hope. And I don't believe hope is a proper word. You need hope, but it's belief and faith. That's stronger. That's stronger. It's I hope I can hit the target, or I know I can hit the target. And if you know you can hit the target, that's faith.
Whole different, yes.
And that's what built my resilience, I think. I really do. I think that overcoming and overcoming and overcoming. And so when those harder times hit, they're not failures, they're setbacks. But I don't know. That's about as best as I can think of for what we're talking about.
Yeah, no, that's great. Because part of the reality is this, right? The hardest obstacles are the ones that challenge not just our circumstances, but challenge our endurance. And to every leader that's listening and watching this conversation right here, I want to invite you, if you're going through a really hard season right now and, you're feeling like this feels insurmountable, this feels impossible, you can't quit. Your endurance is being challenged right now. It's not being destroyed. It's being challenged, right? And like Jay said, sometimes we just have to make a choice, a decision. I'm not going to quit. I don't know exactly how I'm going to make it to the other side, but I'm going to just give myself that hope. Jay, I saw years ago this acronym for hope that says have only positive expectations. And when I feel down and I'm feeling discouraged and like the stinking thinking wants to come in and take over, I remind myself, wait a minute, having positive expectations does not mean that you ignore or you dismiss or you act like it's not real. No, it's real. Feel sad, but you can't stay there. You can't stay there. You have to give hope room to be able to still move forward,
Well, if I may interject real quick, that's kind of like the word fail. I don't fail. The acronym for fail is first attempt in learning.
I love that.
And if people like that, or the word no, I don't want that. No, that just allows you next opportunity.
Ooh, nice.
Because there's a lot of those things like that if you think about it in life. And that's why I say I just don't have an explanation for why I think like I do, except that in my book, I've written, I think you need to look within yourself so much. Look in your heart, look in your head, look in your learned opportunities, look in I'm 76 years old. So I have an opportunity to say, hey, I've got 30, 40 years on a lot of people that I was already been through a lot in my life. And you have to rely upon that and have faith and confidence. Confidence, that's another strong thing. And if you don't have the confidence that you can do it, then you may not be able to do it. But you have to have that faith and hope and confidence, resilience. There's so many words, but that helps drive you through the adversities. And if I may, there's one little thing. Many years ago, I was on an airline, and back in the old days, they had the magazines in the back of the seats in front of you. And I was flipping through a magazine, and I was on my way to Europe, and there was a tree growing out of solid rock. It was just a tree growing out of a rock, a crack in the rock, no dirt, no nothing. And the name at the bottom of it was Revirisco. I think it's Reviresco. But anyhow, and at the time, this is 35, 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I had somebody look it up for me through the Chicago Public Library, and they came back and it was a Latin derivative root for I shall flourish in adversity. And I thought at that time, how much more adversity can
Mercy.
I go through to show
Mercy.
that I can flourish in it? So the more adversity, the stronger I got. And the harder things are, the stronger it makes me. So that's how I observe it. And I really do it. You accept it, embrace those problems and overcome those problems, and it will make you a stronger person.
I love that. I love that. So, all of our leaders right now, listen, Jay is dropping some serious wisdom here. I want to invite you to watch this on the replay. I want to invite you to take some notes right now and ask yourself some deeper questions, right? So that you
Mm.
can get focused and have clear vision on how to be disciplined with your life. So, Jay, how do you help leaders distinguish between a temporary setback and a sign that they need to maybe adjust their approach without abandoning their vision?
First of all, I would hopefully find people that I'm going to choose to work with that are in the leader status that have the correct vision to begin with. And that solves 50% of the problem right there. If they're not committed, if they don't have the vision, if they're not going to be able to do it. Otherwise, it's sit back and work with them and let them know that it's not going to last forever. It's temporary. And and being temporary, virtually everything is temporary. You and I are temporary on this earth. We're a millionth of a blink of an eye. And so if it's a temporary setback, it's not hard to overcome, in my opinion. But that's experience talking, that's learned wisdom. And so by giving them a little direction, asking them some questions a lot of times, and letting them come up with their own answers, and then confirming that for them. Or sometimes, there's a saying something about a good teacher or a good leader, in my opinion, is gives give somebody the direction, but it doesn't give them the answer. You help point them in the right way, but let them come up with the answer. So it's like, what else is it, Adrienne, that you think you could have done to increase the profits on that sale? Okay, I'll let you think about it for a minute. And all of a sudden, it changes your perspective. Now, if you see somebody really going downhill fast, then that takes a different approach. And then you may need to take them in on a one-on-one. But I think that's finding the person with the right vision to begin with. That solves 50% of the problem. And
I
so
love
the
that.
rest of it is, and if as you have that learned wisdom and direction, you're going to help them a little bit all the time. And that little bit, that one small step, little tiny steps. My grandmother said a thing called inch by inch, it's a
Yeah.
cinch. Yard
Yes.
by yard is very hard. So
Yeah.
apparently, there you go. You've heard that. And so people, if they understand that, it makes things a whole lot easier. So it's not going to hit you all at once. It's generally little things that build up, and then you haven't addressed it. And once you address it, then you go, oh my gosh, why didn't I do that 2 weeks ago before it became such a problem?
Mm.
So
I love that. I love that. So again, to everybody's listening and watching, Jay is giving us some serious knowledge right here. Take some time to ask some questions and address it. That's our invitation to you. All right. So listen, this has been a great conversation, right? As we turn the corner on this conversation here, I want to ask you one final question. What daily disciplines or habits helped you consistently move past resistance or move past doubt or move past fear while pursuing what you have envisioned? What daily disciplines or habits have helped you?
well, every night when I go to bed, I thank the Lord for the day and for what I've gone through. And every morning I get up thanking the Lord that I made it through the night, and I trust Him to help me on the vision that I have for that day. And it's more of something that I dream about, I think about, I plan, and I have the hope and I have the confidence that what decisions I've made for that next day, I'm going to be able to follow through on. But I think back and I thank the Lord for previous, and I trust Him to guide me into the future. That's me. But
Yeah.
because I've had to meet the Lord and
Mhm.
through what I've been through, and I know that He will help you. He's there, and that's me personally.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing what grounds you, what holds you, what helps you to be able to move forward and just stay grounded as you walk day by day. And, to every leader, Jay has
Oh,
shared with us his testimony. Jay has shared with us his life experience. I know that you are being inspired even now as you have been listening to this. And so, Jay, I know that there are leaders that want to be able to reach out to you to hear more. I know you've mentioned your book. And so there are leaders that are going to want to be able to tap into that. What's the best way to engage with you?
uh, probably send me an email. It's just my email, and you've got up there. I see on the screen, neverquittrying.com. That's my website, and
Mm,
it's just J at neverquittrying.com.
I
And I
love
think that, or I've got now I have a Facebook page out that just come out too. Is the strength within you,
it. Mm,
and they drop me a note on that or something. But sure, you know
absolutely.
if there's like the other saying goes, if there's a will, there's a way.
Yes.
So
Absolutely. Well,
yeah.
listen, Transformation Station community, you know that we like to support our guests. So I'm inviting everyone. Go to his website, neverquittrying.com. Check out the book, buy the book, send him an email, right? Jay gave us his
Please,
email address. It's also in the description box as you're watching this. Send him an email. Let him know that you have heard, that you've seen this particular episode. Let him know what is resonating with you. Ask questions because, listen, community, we know the community that learns together grows together, and we're all
yes,
about
ma'am.
growing together. Jay, it's been wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you very much, Adrian. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and your smile is infectious. So it's just your attitude. You're pumped up. You got me feeling good. Thank
Oh,
you,
I'm
and I
so glad.
appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again. All right. Well, listen, everybody, today's conversation was epic. Let me tell you why I'm saying that. It's because today's conversation was a reminder that failure, it's not the opposite of success. Failure is often the training ground for success. And if this episode has resonated with you, which I'm quite sure that it has, I want to invite you to take a moment this week to reflect on one obstacle that you have faced and ask, what is this obstacle developing in me? Is it developing strength, wisdom, patience, or deeper discipline? You answer that question. Be sure to subscribe to Transformation Station Leadership Podcast. Don't forget, we hit the 4,000 mark, but we're trying to keep on moving past that. And also, don't keep this episode to yourself. Share it with another leader who needs encouragement today to keep on going. Until next time, I want you to remember obstacles may slow the journey, but discipline and purpose will keep you moving toward what you've envisioned.